It's fine.
Yeah, we're gonna sort that out.
Quietest I've ever heard it in a long time.
That's all the big guys.
I know, everyone's kind of feeling it.
Microphone didn't really say anything too much.
So that's the video, is the owl, is that thing on the pedestal?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. And it follows voices? It should.
All right, good evening. It's 6 o'clock. As this is the reorganization of the Jackson School Board meeting, I call the meeting to order. The first order of business is to elect a chairperson for the Jackson School Board. Are there any nominations for chair?
I'd like to nominate Jess Delavelle to be chair.
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations for chair? Seeing none, all those in favor of Jessica Delavalla as chair of the Jackson School Board, please raise your hand. And by roll call, Jess? Yes. It's your meeting, Chair.
Whew, okay, well, thank you very much, and thank you to my fellow board members for that vote of confidence. I hope you're ready to learn by action and making mistakes, because this is my first chairing of a board meeting, and I do just want to say a very big thanks to Jen Anzaldi for all of those meetings that she has chaired, because it is a lot different to be chairing than it is to be in another one of the seats. So, all right, so next order of business is the election of a vice chairperson. Do we have any nominations for that?
I nominate Micah.
No, I nominate you. I nominate Jerry.
It sounds like we have a nomination for Micah and a nomination for Jerry. Is that correct? Is that what I'm
No,
hearing?
you have one nomination right now, made by Jerry, seconded by Dr. Glazer, for Micah as vice chair.
No, I would like to officially nominate Jerry also. Can we not? We have to finish the vote on.
All right, well, we're going to take one nomination at a time. So we have a nomination on the floor. It's seconded by Dr. Glazer. All in favor of that
Well,
motion?
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Would it be helpful for the members of the board to kind of have a conversation internally about who's willing to accept a nomination if voted in before we proceed? Do we have to proceed with all the organizational votes today?
Well, in
That's
theory,
a
she
good
could, well, I mean, like, sorry, Jess, but
Yes, thank you.
if we vote her to be vice chair, she doesn't accept, then nominations again. And it's, I mean, I wouldn't mind hearing from Micah how you feel about it, 'cause I mean, it's.
I'd love to talk about that.
It doesn't matter to me, really, who the vice chair is.
I think.
Thanks, Jerry.
Can I speak to that now, or are we out of Kevin, are you just?
No, you have a motion and you have a second, so you
Okay.
could have discussion at this point.
I'd like to have discussion. I think that it'd be great for you to be vice chair, because I think your institutional knowledge paired with just being the new chair would be really, really helpful.
Micah, the motion is about you being chair, vice chair at the moment. So
I know, but that's I would rather have the leadership be you and Jerry, because of that reason.
Okay, so would
And
you decline that?
I would like to decline being vice chair because in favor of a better run system with you, Jerry.
So I'll withdraw my motion.
James, will you withdraw your second?
I'll withdraw my second
Okay.
and nominate Jerry.
So now you have a motion
I'll
for
second.
Jerry and a second by Micah. And
Okay. All in favor? Is there any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
And then by roll call, Jessica? Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, Jerry, we're a dynamic duo now. I hope everyone's ready.
And Jess, I don't want to like steal your thunder here or anything like that, but I just going to question the practicality of the meeting being run by someone who's remote.
Who's what?
Who's remote. And I don't have any problem like changing, like, I don't have any problem doing it today, but in the future, it might be smart if we coordinate so whoever is actually, like, so that just, I think it's gonna be a little bit awkward that we have a meeting that's run by someone who's not in the room.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something where we can have that conversation. So if you want to get that on the agenda for a future board meeting, let's do that.
Sure.
But let me ask the board, is it too difficult to have me chair? Because if it is, that's fine.
No, I think that sounds great right now, but I think, coordinating as we go forward with the reorganization to try to have the chair, the person who's running the meeting here.
And I just mean like, who's running this meeting, not being, you would still be chair, just like whoever, like.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, I'm not prideful about that, Jerry. If it's too difficult to have me chair it, I'm fine with you chairing the million meetings. So,
And that's just, it's difficult to hear kind of discussion, but I think this will be fine to go this meeting with it, but I think in the future, we should talk about that anyway as a board. So.
sure. So just to be clear, how are folks right now? Would it be easier to just have Jerry chair this meeting?
No, I'm curious to see how it goes. I think it's going great from my standpoint so far.
Okay.
Okay.
So if there's any, you just let me know, okay? All right, next order of business, we need to set a meeting date and time. So is there a motion for setting meeting date and time? And is there any reason to change our date and times or any interest in having a conversation about that?
Well, I have to make a motion to set our meetings and time as the third Monday of the month and to stick to our standard as we've done all along.
Second.
At 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay.
And Jessica by roll call?
Yes. Thank you, Kevin. Okay. Next order of business, adopting rules of order in an agenda format. My understanding is that we've had sort of a relaxed, modified Robert's Rules of Order, which seem to have worked for us. Is there any motion or a interest in discussing any changes in how we've done things?
I guess, just for the sake of clarity, I would make a motion that we adopt the Robert Rules of Order and maintain the agenda format unchanged. And as far as the relaxed goes, I would leave it to our chair and our vice chair to decide about the implementation on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, second on that?
I'll second.
Discussion?
I'm going to vote no to that. I prefer to say we adopt a policy where we follow the rules of where we follow Robert's rules, we don't actually adopt Robert's rules, which is more indicative of what the RSA is saying. It was backed up by law anyway. Because by law, we can follow Robert's rules if we want to, but we'd only be following the loose, and the board can always not follow Robert's rules. And that's why it's just, to me, we don't want to actually adopt Robert's rules, we just want to adopt a policy where we follow Robert's rules.
That makes sense.
Anyone else want to weigh in on that? Add anything? Okay. All in favor?
Of-
No.
We have to- so
We have
Jerry-
a motion before to actually adopt Robert's rules and to allow the
Oh,
chair
I'm
and vice
sorry, I
chair.
thought you were just amending the motion.
No, I was saying why I wasn't,
My apologies.
why I'd be voting against it is because I don't think we should actually adopt Robert's rules. I think we should just vote to follow Robert's rules. Robert's rules are very onerous, like, they're not easy thing to follow, strict letter of Robert's rules.
Okay,
So,
so would you like to modify your motion, James?
Yeah, well, I just want to learn from Jared. So can you say a little bit more about the distinction that you're making, how that would benefit us?
So all the boards I've ever been on, whether they're select boards, school boards, we don't actually adopt Robert's rules and follow, we just say we're going to follow Robert's rules of order. In other words, if we actually adopt them and say we're going to adhere to them, that's really restricting the way we conduct our business. And I'm okay with it, but we all have to learn Robert's rules very well in order to actually execute it. And by law, we actually don't follow Robert's rules. Because it's,
Kevin?
Yeah, so the Jackson School Board does have a policy called Rules of Order. It really reflects what Jerry was saying. It says general rules of parliamentary procedure are used for every board meeting. The chair shall adopt simplified rules of order following the basic structure of Robert's Rules of Order. The order of business shall be reflected in the agenda. So I think that captures what Jerry was
Okay.
saying.
that's a motion I would support to do that policy.
Okay.
Follow the
Draw
policy.
motion.
Yeah, and I think it just allows us to not have to actually use verbatim the formula for each motion and point of order and personal privilege and things like that, so would we like to modify James's motion to reflect what you just said?
So James withdrew his motion and we're waiting to see what Micah does.
So
Okay,
I agree with supporting
You have to
what,
withdraw your second.
I have to withdraw my second. I withdraw my second. This is fun.
See, those are Robert's rules.
I withdraw my second.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the policy that we've set in place for rules of order and agenda format.
I will second that.
all right, any more discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
By roll call, Jess? Yes.
Here, yep. Thank you, everyone. Okay, next up, we have item E, committee assignments. And I'm wondering if anyone would like to make a motion to hold on that while we.
Yeah, I'd very much like to make a motion to hold on that while we organize the board and.
To table that,
Yes.
that item until next month.
Yep.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
There is no discussion on the motion to
Oh,
table.
tabling, sorry, yeah. Okay. All in favor?
And Jessica? By
Yes.
roll call, yeah, okay.
Okay, and item F, we need to, we're looking for a motion on who shall sign the manifest. We need 2 people. If I read that correctly, Kevin?
I'll make a motion that any sworn in board member can sign the manifest.
Second.
that.
Okay. All in favor?
And Jessica, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, and everyone has the minutes from March 7th. Both, if it's okay with everyone, we'll look to approve the minutes from March 7th board meeting as well as the March 7th special meeting.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
any discussion or changes? All in favor? I am.
And Jessica, yes.
Okay. Okay, at this point, I would like to turn it over to the fabulous citizens I see out in the audience. And first, I just would like to apologize. I'm sorry I could not be there in person this evening, but I'm very glad to be with you all. And at this point, we would ask if anyone has any comments if you'd like to share them, please let us know.
Oh, maybe I have something. Can I?
Sure.
Aaron, I know you probably are gonna mention Circus Circus. Maybe, maybe not. In your list of things that you're gonna say that are wonderful happening. So, but Victoria in a panic asked me to say something because, so the week after vacation, we're hosting, Circus Circus is coming to do a week-long workshop with us. And the Bilger family is putting up the artists for the evening, and we're still looking for folks to support getting them dinners and stuff like that. So if you have any connections to restaurants or anything like that, let Miss Susan know, or Victoria. And it would just be super helpful for us to make sure they're well taken care of while they're here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joan, that's so exciting.
It is, it's so cool.
Are there any other comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. There'll be another opportunity at the end. Okay, so presentation of school programs and FYI items.
We do have a presentation tonight. Mrs. Heisler is here with some of her students to talk about science and STEM.
Yay!
Come on up, guys.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joan Heisler, the Mrs. Henry, and Kingston and Jerry. We're going to talk to you about science. They're going to talk to you about the Mount Washington Valley STEM Expo, which is a reimagined version of Science Fair. That is really an incredible endeavor by a whole host of community members. But I just wanted to fill you all in, because we spent a lot of time talking about math. We spent a lot of time talking about literacy, and I want you to let you know that science doesn't go by the wayside. We've talked about this a number of times. We say in education, you know, I know Kevin has said to us more than once that we're teaching kids who are going to have jobs that we haven't even imagined in STEM fields yet. And so science is really important. You know, I said I've been on the science committee for 8 years or something like that, and then at the STEM Expo I was talking with Rick Bechet and Sean Littlefield and Joe Yana, and they laughed at me because my son Jack is turning 17, and the first time I worked with them on a science curriculum committee, I was pregnant with Jack, so I've really been doing it for 17 years. Science is really important to me, and having science and doing science and all the things about science. So we spend a bunch of time this year. I am really involved in Open Syed, which is a science program that the middle schools, both Bartlett and Kent Middle School, have adopted. And I'm field testing it this year and next year, because it's the field testing the elementary version. And it's really an amazing process to be involved in developing science curriculum that is open to everybody, and everybody's going to be able to use. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be able to give some feedback and say, here are some things from a real life standpoint that work in your curriculum, and here are some things that don't. So that's been really exciting. Next year I'll be able to suck Mrs. Rose into that a little bit. So that's, you know, that's kind of the big picture. But then this year, for the first time ever, 4th and 5th graders were able to be involved in the STEM Expo, which, as I said, is kind of like the re-envisioning of a science fair. And we were the only, you know, we worked with Emily Calderwood, who organized the whole thing, and we were the only elementary school class that jumped in to do science fair stuff as a class. So 4th and 5th graders don't have a ton of opportunities currently in science to plan an investigation and run experiments and that kind of stuff. They just don't have a ton of experience with it. So to send them off on their own felt a little bit unfair. So all of us got together with Mrs. Calderwood and said, how are we going to do this? We decided to make it a unit And so I gathered 19 4th, 5th, and 6th graders together, and every single available hand in this building at some time. And we did a pretty good job that these guys are going to tell you all about.
Mrs. Culver came in and gave us an introduction to STEM Fest in January. We followed the steps and planned and carried out our own investigations.
We each choose our own topic based on our own interests. Mine was about how different temperatures affect magnets.
My topic was about how far different sized soccer balls can travel. We worked with Mrs. Heisler, Mrs. Bailey, Mrs. Hill, and Mrs. Amy and Mrs. Messer to come up with questions to plan our investigation.
Then we spent time doing our investigations and collecting data.
When we had our data, we made graphs, figured out what data tells us.
Then we put everything together for a presentation. Here's Henry's to show you his.
Hi, I'm Henry Dupuy with GGS. The question I asked is, does the color of the paper in the solar oven affect how hot it gets? I chose this investigation because I really like solar ovens and think they're interesting. My hypothesis was that purple paper would be warmer because most solar ovens use black paper, and it's the darkest color, so most absorbent. My variable was the color of paper, and my hypothesis was wrong, and blue was warmer than purple, which I thought was really interesting. And if I had more time for this investigation, I'd probably try it with other colors.
We presented to 3 judges at the STEM Expo.
There were different rubrics for the 4th and 5th grade and middle and high school, which you have copies of.
So I left copies of the rubrics for each board member to look at. And the way we structured that, we made sure that all of their presentations represented what was on the rubric. So you'll see the elementary on one side and the middle and high school one on the other side. So we went through piece by piece and put that together. We worked with Mrs. Calder to kind of make sure that the expectations for elementary school kids weren't the same as sophomores in high school. As you look around, you'll see all of the boards are here, and at some of the places I left those rubrics for other folks to be able to see as well.
Vivian came in 3rd in the elementary school category, and Jeremy came in 1st.
I have the judges' rubrics, and so the judges are a panel of people from all over the Mount Washington Valley who love or are connected somehow to science. And the judges, it was kind of a random pick judges, different kids had different judges, and going through the rubric, the elementary kids could score out of 50 points, and Jeremy had 49, 48, and 49 points on his rubrics from his judges. All of their comments were they liked the science behind his, and it's pretty kind of cool to watch a 4th grader who now gets to do again 5th grade, 6th grade, and all the way on up, and see these guys grow. But congratulations, Jeremy. Do you guys have any questions for these guys or me about science?
Yeah, do you have projects picked up for next year?
So many things to think about. The thing that was cool about it is look around and there are so many different things. Some kids really thought a lot about science, and then some kids thought about things that really interest them. You know, Kingston picked out soccer. everybody would have been surprised if Kingston did something other than something related to soccer. But that, you know, but there is science involved in it, and it's kind of cool to watch kids pull the science connections from the things in their lives.
Thank you.
Thank you. Feel free to look at them.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay. That brings us to any other school programs or FYI items, Erin?
Nope, that's it. Oh, thank you.
Okay, that was awesome. Thank you. Okay, we're up to old business. Is there anything that we have for that?
Nope.
Okay. Then we'll go up to item 6, instructional issues. Letter A, we have a second reading of policies, and just to remind everyone where we are, we approved this 500 at our last meeting, both BBBC, which is board member or district office resignation, and BBBE. Those letters, BBBC and BBBE, are two separate policies. The first one, BBBC, is board member or district office resignation, and BBBE, board vacancies and unexpired term fulfillment. We voted on first reading 500 to approve them on the first reading. So they're back around for the second reading of policies, and I'm looking for a motion either individually or jointly for approval.
Make a motion to approve on second reading BBBC board member or district officer resignation.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
And Jessica?
Yes. Thank you.
Make a motion to approve on second reading BBBE board vacancies and unexpired term fulfillment.
I'll second.
Discussion? Okay, all in favor?
And Jessica?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Jerry, Micah, James. Okay, we're on to item 7, consider personnel actions. I'm looking for a motion to accept the resignation of Owen McAndrew as enrichment coordinator.
Make a motion to accept regret the resignation of Owen McAndrews as enrichment coordinator.
I'll second that, also with regret.
All in favor? Also with regret?
And Jessica?
Yes. Okay. And we will hold item B, Kevin?
Correct.
Okay. Item C, we'll consider the approval of the principal's contract. I'm looking for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the principal's contract.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. I'll just say, Erin, it's really been a pleasure having you on board this year, and I really appreciate all that you bring to the board and to our families. So
Thank you.
that's the only discussion I have for this part of this meeting. All in favor?
And Jessica?
Yes. Okay, item E, FYI, we have the appointment of Ms. Emily Bean as a long-term substitute.
You skip D?
Oh, I apologize, sorry. I got so excited about Erin, sorry. Item D, consider the election of personnel for 2024-2025. I'm looking for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the recommended elections for personnel for 2024-2025.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
And Jessica?
Yes. Okay. And at this point, if it's okay, Kevin, I'll turn it over to you for an FYI on the budget status report.
Sure. Well, you do have an FYI appointment of Emily Bean. There's just informing the board that we will have a long-term substitute in there. There's no action needed by the board. So business affairs, FYI, budget status report. It is April, as you folks know. You're in good shape as far as your budget goes. You're targeting those things, so there probably will be a fair fund balance at the end of the year. if things continue to go where they're at.
Okay. All right, we are up to B, general assurances, requirements, and definitions for participation in the federal program. Kevin?
Yep, so in your packet, you'll see there are federal assurances. Basically what that says is that we as a district, if we accept any federal funds, there are about 18 pages worth of documents. You're free to take a look at those. But really we will follow all guidelines, federal regulations for going out to bid, for non-discriminatory practices, for any of those pieces. It comes out every single year, and then the board chair signs off on that. I don't know if Jessica, if this gets approved, that you'll designate the vice chair to sign, but we need to upload those.
Yes, absolutely.
So do you need a motion?
I'll make a motion
accept
to
those?
accept the general assurances, requirements, and definitions for participation in federal programs.
I'll second that.
Second? Thank you. All in favor?
And Jessica.
Yes. Okay. C, consider the donation to Friends of the Whitney Community Center. Kevin, perhaps you could just talk briefly about this, the amounts and what we have in the document.
Yeah, this is a historical piece that is a relationship between the Whitney Center and the Jackson School District. As it reads, Jackson School Board will donate 50% of the amount received from the Whitney Foundation to the Friends of the Whitney Center. This year, the district received $11,964 from the Charitable Foundation, so half of that goes to the Friends of the Whitney Center.
So we're looking for a motion in this, correct?
That's correct.
So then I make a motion to make the donation to the Whitney Center.
Second. Thanks, Charlie. If you do the other one, that'll help even more. The other door. Sorry, we're blinded by the beautiful sunlight that we have in our town.
All in favor? I'm in favor.
And Jessica, yes.
Before we move on, Jessica, could we go back to item D and just have you authorize me signing the forms for the...
Please do. Thank you, Jerry. Okay. And then we have an FYI budget transfer between functions.
So because it is a big transfer, but really what is the issue is with special education, when you transfer between lines, even though it's only $250 for a $40,000 transfer, it just needs an FYI to the board related to that. That's all.
Okay. That brings us to administrators' reports. Kevin?
Yeah, so just a few things. I would hope that we are done with snow for this year in remote days and flooding situations, but appreciate everybody cooperating with that. It is a busy time of year. As you saw, the slate of personnel, we will continue to advertise for those vacant positions. I know it's also evaluation time. I would like to publicly acknowledge that Erin has done a tremendous job as a principal, I think, in Jackson. There's been a lot thrown her way this year, and I think that she has handled that very well, and I think that the Jackson School District is in good hands with Erin, so I'd like to acknowledge that. The other thing I'd like to do is acknowledge Jen Ansaldi. I know that you had said some nice words about her, but I can tell you as a superintendent to work with all the different school boards is a challenge, and as a board chair, you are called upon tremendously for a lot of different things. And Jen has always been very positive. I think she's been transparent. She has been a strong advocate for Jackson School District, And I would like to publicly acknowledge her for her time and thank her for her service. And I'm sure Jessica, as a new chair, you will do the same. And but it is a different role, and everything goes through there. Other than that, we are, starting to look toward the end of the school year, and I will turn it over to Erin, who will give you a local view of things.
Thank you for your kind words. I did want to take a moment to thank Mrs. Heisler while she's here for the job and the work she did with the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders on the STEM Expo. I think it was not an easy feat to take that on across 3 grade levels. And sometimes you'd walk into a couple of the rooms and it looked like complete chaos, but I took pictures of it a few times because it was such awesome learning happening in that chaos. And I think these kiddos, they did such a great job presenting and practicing some of those skills beyond science, communication, those portrait of a learner skills that we talk about. They were able to implement those too. So thank you, Mrs. Heisler, for taking that on, and the entire JGS staff. Like, everyone had a hand in it. Every teacher, every staff member at some point was involved in that, and it was well worth the time taken to implement that within our curriculum, and we're looking forward to doing it again next year. So thank you, Joan, for that. Also, I wanted to highlight that now that the snow's melted, we have a playground build coming fastly approaching. When I took on this role, they said, oh, we're getting a new playground. I never for a second imagined what it consisted of and how much goes into it. But we're doing a community build, and that is happening on May 10th, 11th, and 12th. So we will be putting out a flyer hopefully Wednesday with some more details and sign-ups. So it's a Friday and Saturday, and it is Mother's Day weekend. Hopefully on Sunday we're just going to do some planting for those who want to come, but Friday and Saturday are going to be the big days. And we have partnered with the playground company, so they come with, there's 3 employees total, and they assure us that they've done this a lot and they're going to direct us. And we've had some awesome parent volunteers that have made it possible. So we're really excited to get this implemented, and it's definitely just phase 1 of the project, and we've already started talking about phase 2, phase 3 for our community. So we're really excited to at least get the old playground out and the new playground and the play equipment. So we have some great vision for that. So mark your calendars if you're around on those days. We'd love to see you. And as Ms. Heisler also noted, we do have the circus coming to town, which is going to be pretty awesome. That's happening after April break. That's our artist in residence this year. So they're going to work with the kids throughout the week, and then we'll have our performance at the end of the week. So we are looking forward to that, along with lots of other events in the last couple months of school. But that's an overview of the ones fastly approaching.
Erin, is the last day of school different because of the snow days, or is it standing?
It's standing, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so we are on to board member issues. The first one is the school board vacancy, and I do have a question. Kevin, if I remember correctly, we have some advice provided by legal counsel to.
Yeah, so if I might.
Yep.
Just to update folks, so for whatever reason, there was a disconnect between the vote, and there is a vacant seat at this point, which was just left off the ballot moving forward. So you do have an opening. There are 4 members. It's a 5-member board. So you just adopted a policy. So my recommendation is to follow your policy, which means that tomorrow we will advertise, and it'll stay open until for 21 days. And then you have a board meeting in May. And anybody who's interested in the Jackson community for running for the school board should send a letter to my office or to me, email, that's fine. That becomes public record, so those will be collected. And then at the board meeting in May, if the board chooses to, if there's only one person who's interested, they may ask you questions, go through an interview process. If there are multiple folks, the policy does say that it'll take place at the next meeting, but as a board, you can you can, amend the policy or make the decision to appoint somebody that night. So really, the policy is you have a vacant seat, it'll become advertised. Anybody in the public who's watching or listening can send an email of interest or a letter of interest to my office, or you could drop it off to Erin here at the school if that's easier. She'll get it to me. And then at the next board meeting, the board will move forward with an interview or questions or discussion.
Yeah, and just to that end, I would just strongly encourage anyone who has any questions about it. We speak as a body, as a board, but I'm fairly certain, knowing the character of the other folks on the board, that anyone will be willing to answer any questions for anyone. So if you have any, please reach out and ask. And we obviously need good people. We're making important decisions for the benefit of our students. So we would love to get that fifth seat filled. So please consider running, anyone and everyone. But back to my other question, Kevin. I think there's still some questions lingering about some of the information that came in. So at this point, I'm wondering about adding that as an agenda item to the non-public session, given 91A32, which allows us to consider legal advice in a non-public setting.
Yeah, we have at the bottom, there are 3 personnel matters that are cited under 91A3. That is one of them.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, the high school follow-up, I have been in contact with, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who came out last month, because it was so educational and informative, and it was just such a pleasure to hear how engaged and how curious and how just inquisitive our community is. And I think we're going to be able to do some really wonderful things with the information that came in. Right now, what we're doing is, as we said at the end of the last meeting, we don't have a committee where there's nothing happening outside of board meetings. So what you see here is what's happening. We need to make some decisions though moving forward, and we still have plenty of time. We are, at this point, Sasha Tracy, who was very kind and generous with her time in running that meeting for us. She is, the last I heard, and I corresponded with her this week, she said she was going to get back to us with some of her recommendations about how she might proceed and some input. And what we're hoping for is that that will come in, and then we will take that as a board and make some decisions about how to move forward. And as soon as we have that, which hopefully it will be no later than next month, and whether that comes in or not by next month, we will be moving forward with some ideas so that we can start to take some action, because there was plenty for us to respond to, given all of the work that you all did to come to that meeting and to give us your input. So thank you again, and to my fellow board members, if there's anything you'd like to say or add on to that, please, now would be a wonderful time to do that.
Jess, thank you for that summary. Community members have brought the question to my attention about whether we can make available to community members a compilation of the questions that came up from the audience members. And so can we just work together with Sasha Tracy to kind of get that list of questions and perhaps include it in a board packet so that it's available to the community to see?
Yeah, so one of the things I was hoping for is that we would be able to do that, much like we did with the budget, because I thought that was really effective. Just as a citizen, I thought the work that was done on the Q&As for the budget was really helpful. So I didn't want to do anything without the board making decisions. But so good news, all of the questions, I thought Melissa Donaldson did a great job of writing down everything she could get from that meeting. So in our packet tonight, I think those questions are there. So anyone who wants those, they should be in there. They should be public record at this point in the packet. And if anyone needs them, obviously reach out. I'll be happy to share them. I also took pretty good notes, I think, and I'm hoping as soon as I get a moment to type up my own notes And I would be glad if anyone has questions, if something seems a little like unclear from something, I will personally share what I've got. But what I'm hoping is that we will make a decision about how to compile things, how to present information to folks. I know there were a number of people who were hoping for sort of a Q&A document. So that's one of the things I'll be looking to the board for next month to make a decision about is how we can present evidence, whether it's, we've talked about before, what format do we put it in, how do we do it? And I think Sasha had some ideas. So the goal will be to make it efficient and to get it to people sooner rather than later. So, and hopefully what we can do is get it from as many sources as possible so that it's as accurate as possible as well.
Great.
And when I say that, I mean the questions, not necessarily the answers. I mean, we'll take the answers from the verifiable sources also. It won't just be everyone's opinions. So, okay. Anything else on that?
Thank you.
I guess on that last part, Jess,
Yeah.
are we talking about compiling the questions between now and May? We're not talking about answering the questions.
No, I just mean the questions, they're already in the packet that were there, but when I read the packet, I think things were happening so quickly, it was very difficult to get them all down. I know from my own notes, I think I was able to get a lot of them down, so I wasn't able to do it yet, but what I was hoping we would do as a board was make a decision to say, let's see if we can get clarity on what all the questions are and agree on what ones we thought would be, what would be the ones that we would like to make sure we answer for the public.
Okay.
Because we won't be able to answer every question that came in, right? I mean, there were literally dozens and dozens of questions that came in.
Well, I just wanted to make sure we're talking about compiling the questions, not answering the questions, because we haven't.
Correct, yes,
Right.
no.
Understood. Thanks.
So, but at some point, I am hoping we will answer questions for people as well. So, but we'll have to figure that out as a board. And I'd like that to make, we'll put that as an agenda item for us to vote on.
So it
If that
seems to
makes
me,
sense to you all.
can I land that?
Oh no.
Hold on,
We're going to just attention. You just gotta do something.
cancel.
Cancel. And then you just have to wiggle something.
Keep it on.
Yeah.
Jess, can you hear us still?
Yeah, she's.
I actually can hear and see you guys, no problem.
Okay.
Have you seen that?
The countdown is so ominous.
I know.
So you can still see.
Yeah, you have her here.
It's actually.
I can see us in
Yeah.
It's just the board, it's not the meeting.
Yeah, it's just the board. It's just the board.
Jess can still say.
Yes, that's great. Thank you, Pam.
Keep it on.
Hey, tell you who's that. Imagine it. Hey.
So I was just gonna try to condense that for my brain and potentially for other people's brains. So we had the session. Sasha is going to look at compiling some of the information and recommending steps forward. At that point, at our next board meeting, hopefully we will have Sasha's recommendation, but irregardless of having it or not, we will have a conversation, at which point we will also make a decision about how to share back the information that was gathered, but not answers, and make a roadmap forward. So our next meeting becomes an important meeting to be able to have time in our agenda for high school, correct?
Yeah, and to be clear, we may make a decision at the next meeting to decide to answer questions. I don't want to put a cap on that we won't be answering questions. So
Yeah, I was just trying to put it together in a way to follow the narrative that happened, just so that everyone feels that they have an anchor point.
Yes, yeah, I have been hoping to get the recommendations from Sasha. We just weren't able to get them yet for a variety of reasons. So, but hopefully we're going to start to be able to take some action so we can start to make decisions as a board about what to do, and I think that would be ideal. And hopefully you all do too, but we'll know when we all vote. Yes, Jerry?
And I didn't mean to imply that we wouldn't be able to answer questions at the next meeting. I just meant that we wouldn't be seeing answers to the questions at the next, at the beginning of like that. You're not compiling information to give answers to those questions before our next meeting.
No, I think we're really, I think we're just in a process right now. We're trying to figure out what is the best way to follow up to that last meeting, because there was so many questions came in, and really what is the best way that we think we can use that information and use those questions to take our next steps as a board. And start to, I do think we need to start taking some action. So we have to decide what action we want to take, if any. I'm only one member, so I'd like to hear from you all about what you think we should do in terms of next steps as well. But it would be nice to start to take some steps using what we've learned.
Great.
So, and to that end, if anyone has suggestions, if you have ideas, I would welcome them. We don't have a committee who's guiding it at the moment, but it would be nice to start to make some plans about how to get things moving so that we can start to get to a point where we can make decisions about what we think is the best course of action for our students and families and taxpayers.
Great.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, committee reports. Is there anything anyone would like to report in on from the committees?
Nope.
No? Okay. All right, then let's confirm that the date for our next school board meeting will be Monday, May 20th at 6 p.m. And hopefully we'll have some good items to discuss, both high school, perhaps some folks will come forward for board seat, and other exciting and interesting items. It'll be end of year, so it'd be fun to start to think about what everyone's been doing and reflecting. And then we also have a Bartlett-Jackson Joint Boards meeting on May 7th, which is a Tuesday at 6 p.m.
Just a correction, that'll be at 5:30. Bartlett starts their meeting at 6, so it'll be 5:30.
Oh.
Yeah.
Great, thank you for that. Put that in order. Okay, 5:30 p.m. Okay.
Jess?
Anything else, Kevin? Are you raising your hand?
Jerry.
Oh, Jerry, thank you, sorry.
Kevin, when is the organizational meeting for the SU 9?
May
2nd.
2nd.
And I just want to say to Jackson board members, I cannot express to you how important it is for all of us to be there. It's a very, very important organizational meeting for the board. If we can all be there, please try to get there, because it's very important for us.
What meeting is that?
The May 2nd meeting for the reorganization meeting of the SU 9.
SAU 9.
Is that at 6 p.m. as well?
Yes, correct.
Thank you, Jared, for that reminder. That's helpful. Okay, anything else there? Okay, then we'll turn it back over to our citizens. Are there any comments that anyone would like to share?
Yeah, Keith has a question or a comment.
Well, it's a question / comment, but I see that you have 3 personnel matters in non-public. Does that have to do with the vacant positions that are at the school currently?
No, I don't think so.
Because we've been told in the past that March was typically the time when you guys would repost the positions that are vacant at the school. Is something being done as far as the vacant positions at the school?
They're being advertised.
They're being
currently.
advertised
They're
currently.
being advertised currently.
Mhm.
And are they being advertised in the paper or?
There's a series of, they're advertised in the newspaper, they're advertised on the SU9 website, they're advertised on School Spring and a couple of other different media outlets related to that too. LinkedIn.
So we should have a better idea in maybe the June meeting, if those positions are going to be filled and they're not vacant again.
Yeah, it's hopeful that we have people coming in May, at the May meeting.
Keith, may I have your last name, please?
Hendricks?
Hendricks?
Hendricks.
Hendricks, thank you.
And is that, and not only this, the teacher positions, also the custodian position, that's being advertised currently too?
Are you interested?
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Charlie Morrow. I have a couple of beats on the school board, high school. Not that I'm really obsessed with this issue, but it'd be great if there were a public session where you all kind of just responded to all of those questions to the extent you have them. It'd be lovely to hear your points of view on things. I just think there's so much wisdom that would be great to have as a community. The other thing, not to be paranoid, but all those questions, I wonder if they represent the community, or do they represent the parent activists that happen to have been at that last meeting? Because I just want, I'm looking out for you guys. Like you want to make sure that you don't make a decision. Excuse me, let me say this straight. It would be awful if you made a decision based on input and maybe there were parts of the community that didn't agree. It's just a worry for you all for that decision. So, I'm complete.
I think following Charlie's comment, we had talked about doing a survey and it got lost when we had that conversation at board level, so that people who couldn't come to the meeting were able to jump in, and that's not gonna get everyone, but it will cast a wider net. So let's add that to the agenda item next month to talk about how we can have a follow-up survey to have more participation. Thanks, Charlie.
Yeah, I want to speak to that too, because I'm so grateful that you brought that up, Charlie. And I think that there's a real need that this decision is made with all of the community constituency in mind. And in Jackson, we have a very diverse community. We have a school community. We have different communities with different priorities. And so I think you're absolutely right that it's really important to hear as broadly as possible from all those different constituencies in order to try to parse what's going to look like a good decision, or as good a decision as possible to everybody. So thank you for that comment, and I want to reassure the people here that as we've discussed this individually, I have a very strong sense that our priority is really shared around hearing as much from the community and being as representative of the community in whatever decision takes place.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just want to follow up to the Jackson-Bartlett Joint Board, because Keith Henricks made a comment this evening, and it reminded me of a point that you brought up, maybe in the last board meeting or before, but just for the community members, my daughter is a student at Bartlett, and we're really happy with the education she's getting. But Keith brought up the issue of extracurricular activities and sports that are available to people at Bartlett Middle School. And I think that that's a priority for the people at Bartlett, but right now it's not necessarily what I would call a strength of the experience. And so I think it would be helpful for not just board members to be a part of that meeting, but also community members, because I think that we can really be a big influence on how those sorts of priorities filter up to the top when it comes to the Bartlett administration making decisions about offering sports and extracurricular activities for middle school students that our community is going to potentially get to benefit from. So thanks for your comment, Keith. I haven't forgotten it. And I think the more people show up to the meeting, the bigger a voice we can have as a community.
So, James, what I'm hearing is you're encouraging folks to go to that meeting on May 20th, the joint boards meeting at 5:30 p.m.
Yeah, I think it's May 7th.
May 7th at 5:30 p.m. Got it. Okay.
But I would love for them to come to the May 20th meeting here as well.
Yes. I'll encourage everyone to come to all those meetings, but I just wanted to clarify, make sure I understood what your comment was. So you're encouraging folks to come to that meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
And I will agree. I'll jump on that. Those are great and very important meetings, because that is one of the few times we get to weigh in on anything that's happening there. So, okay. With that, I'm wondering if anyone has a motion to go into a non-public.
I'll make a motion, go to non-public.
I'll second.
There are, just clarity, there are three issues that are all under RSA 91A:3 to C. So those are personnel matters.
Okay, they're all under A2C.
Yep.
Wait, Kevin, I just want to pull up my
Yep.
checklist just real quick. Because you all can't see what I'm doing, I'm just going to tell you, the New Hampshire School Board Association actually shares out effective board meetings, how you conduct those, and they actually have some very helpful information on non-public sessions, because as you all may remember, all of our business should be conducted in public, right? Because, openness in the conduct of your business, right? Your public business is essential to our democratic society. So public access is very, very important. So what Kevin was just doing was pointing out why we're going into a non-public session, what exception do we fall under for this non-public session we're about to go into, why we feel it's so important to go into a non-public session. So Kevin, thank you for that. And okay, so we have a motion and we have a second, and all in favor?
By roll call, when you go into non-public, it's roll call for everybody. So Jessica, yes. Jerry?
Yep.
Yes.
Micah?
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and then we will adjourn from non-public. Just for the
Public,
public.
and we'll go.
Yeah, we'll come back into public session and then they'll adjourn.